would have saw those, I would have got one of those. What'd you get? Hello, and welcome back to A Forward Life. I'm Marie. I'm a gardener, treasure hunter, book lover, artist, and runner. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I will be working on my coverlet because I'm trying to get it done and complete that project. And I will also be showcasing some of the quilts that I have made and how I learned how to sew. I hope you enjoy this vlog. My mom and my grandmother taught me how to sew. My mom had a Kenmore sewing machine, and I was so excited. She got one of the new sewing machines that was inside the cabinet. And I was like, I wanted to learn how to sew because she was teaching my older sister how to sew. She might have been in a home ec class or something. And so she was teaching her how to use the sewing machine or something. And I just wanted to know how to sew. And my parents had bought me one of those little fake sewing machines. It was supposed to be like it sewed real clothes together, but you know what it did? It was glue. So the sewing machine would like glue, it would come out like glue, like you were sewing something together, and it would stay together for a little while, but of course eventually it would come loose. And so I was tired of that little fake sewing machine. And so my mother taught me how to use her sewing machine. And so she taught me how to use it, but then sometimes I would go too fast and I would break the needles. And I always had to tell her when I broke the needle because she would have to come in and change it. But you know me, I'm a learner, you know, and I'm watching what she's doing. And so eventually I learned how to change the needle. So if I broke a needle, I wouldn't tell her. I would just change it myself. And I used to make my Barbie doll clothes. And my doll clothes from learning on that sewing machine. And then my grandmother, she was a quilter. And, you know, back in the day, people used to, you know, save all of their clothing. If you outgrew something or whatever it was, fabric was never thrown away. It's not like the fashion we have today, where, you know, you wear it 3 times and you can't wear it anymore. Well, there was no such thing as throwing things away like that. So what you would do is you would save it and you would use it for making quilts. And she used to have the best fabric, and she had the most beautiful quilts. I wish I had pictures of them. I wish there were such things as iPhones back then sometimes, you know, because back then, if you wanted to take a picture, you had to have a camera, and then the camera had to have film, and then once you took the pictures, you had to take the film to get the pictures developed. And so it was a process. I have some of my grandmother's quilts, but they're not her beautiful, beautiful quilts. I'm thankful for what I have, because the quilts that I do have, she gave me one quilt and she gave me 2 quilt tops. And the reason why she only gave me the quilt tops was because she says, you know how to sew and you can quilt them yourself. I would be around her and I would see her doing it, and I was like, Grandma, show me how to do it, you know? And that's what she did. She taught me how to quilt. And she had one of those quilt frames where you had the hooks up in the ceiling and you would let the frames down, and then you could spread it out and you could quilt it, and we would just be watching. It was just so amazing. And I recently finished a quilt for one of our younger church members. As a matter of fact, before she was born, I made her a quilt. And like I said, I didn't have a camera and I wasn't always taking pictures of things. And I had embroidered her name on it with my sewing machine. And so 30 years later, she still has the quilt, but the embroidery had disintegrated. And so she asked me to put her daughter's name on it. And so that's what I did. I'm going to try to insert some of the pictures of me working on that project. And I did the embroidered her name by hand instead of using the sewing machine, because that's what I did the first time was I used the sewing machine to embroider her name. And this time I decided to embroider it by hand. In fact, I have a wonderful book. I have two wonderful books that I'm going to show you. It's called Making a Life, Working by Hand and Discovering the Life You Are Meant to Live. And it is a wonderful book. And how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. And it's about all of these women and men who are makers. And it tells about their stories, about them making, and how they came to, trying to find, how they learned their craft. I really love this story. She was talking about, she called it slow fashion. And how they take old things and they make new things by taking scraps and making stuff. And look at this. This is an artist. It's a wonderful book. Wonderful, wonderful book. So each one teach one. And these are all ladies who make quilts. Sort of like my grandmother would have. And I love this cover and the things that they make. And it's like an inspiration board. Another book that I have is called A Communion of the Spirits. And it's about African-American quilters, preservers, and their stories. And it just shows all the quilts, and it just reminds me of, the things that my grandmother taught me and everything that I know about quilting. But it has some wonderful stories in here. And I'm going to show you an antique that we got at the auction when I was very young, when I was doing a lot more sewing. But I'm going to show you my vintage sewing machine in the cabinet. Okay, so this is the top, and you just pull this open. And then here you have the sewing machine, and you flip this back, and then you pull out the machine. And there it sits like that. Now, once you have the machine out, the way the ladies would sit on this is that the ladies would pull the chair up and they would sit through there. And if you haven't noticed, on the back side also opens up. Now remember, this used to be one of those trundle sewing machines with the foot pedal that would pedal to make it sew, so you didn't need electricity. But someone in the 1950s did update it to become an electrical sewing machine. I know that some people said it's devalued, but I still think it's great because it's actually usable. It's from the Singer Manufacturing Company, and you can see all the inlay on it. It has the old, I actually use it. This right here is actually a light. So they put a light on it and a motor so you don't have to pump it anymore. But just look at the details on this. They took pride in their craftsmanship. Everything wasn't like fast. Just like we have fast fashion today, we also have fast manufacturing. It goes back to being just a regular cabinet, but it's a sewing machine. And yes, we have just a phone that is on sale on eBay. This is an old dial-up phone. On sale on eBay. So I want to say thank you for coming along today as we ventured into completing projects, looking at some books about being a maker and an artisan and about quilters. And also we did some treasure hunting where you got to see my beautiful vintage Singer sewing machine in the oak cabinet. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss my next video. Thank you for watching.